The travel disruption is set to continue. Gatwick Airport has announced it'll cut the number of flights it can operate in July and August. Recent weeks have seen travellers deal with a swathe of last-minute cancellations and long delays. Lo Bue-Said is Chief Executive of Advantage Travel Partnership, the UK's largest independent group of travel agents and travel management companies. She's on the line now. Good afternoon to you, Julia.
Hi, good afternoon, Cathy.
We did hear earlier in the programme that perhaps a summer of disruption is to be expected, but actually these cancellations might be better than last-minute cancellations. So are you seeing the silver lining?
I think when we, after an industry that's really felt the pain over the last 2 years, like many of us have in our lives and in industries, I think to see the industry rebound so quickly in one respect is really positive. Unfortunately, as you've said there, and what we've seen is it's an industry unable in some parts, unable to cope, and a lot of that has been because of the impact of staff shortages. What this now does, the news from Gatwick Airport and the capping that they put in place for July and August, just feels like it's going to take some pressure away from some of the airlines that have really struggled to maintain the operating standard that we need and we want. So I think in parts, yes, it's positive. What we absolutely need to make sure happens is there's really strong communication that is taking place between airport and airline out to consumer, and that's really imperative that we have that.
How confident are you that passengers whose flights are cancelled, if they're cancelled weeks in advance, will get replacement flights, or will they get their money back? In which case, that leaves them in the lurch if they've booked a holiday.
Yeah, I'd love to be in a position of saying that it's the airlines that would need to give you that guarantee. What we definitely have seen, however, is over the course of the last couple of months, flights have been consolidated. And it really is worth remembering that in the vast majority of cases, flights are departing. It's not as if this is every airline, every airport, every day. Of course, it's devastating for anybody that's on a cancelled flight. But we have seen a lot of consolidation. So EasyJet, for example, where they've had 2 flights going out to a particular destination or 3 flights to a particular destination, they've consolidated that. So customers will still get out. They'll still go out on the day they were intending in most cases. But it could be at a different time.
And people are to expect crowds still, are they?
Well, I think I have to say, personally, I was at Luton Airport this morning, taking my 21-year-old on, who's off to Bodrum for a long weekend. He went to Luton Airport and he was through security and out the other end in half an hour. I think the reality is there are bottlenecks in every walk of life at times. And what the airports and airlines and everybody is trying to do is make sure that we're learning. We do what we can proactively, and that we can make it as seamless where we can as possible. But clearly, at very peak times, we are going to get bottlenecks.
And you talked about staff shortages. Is this because the airlines laid too many people off and they've since found better paid work? Or is it in part because of Brexit and therefore a lack of EU staff?
I think there is a real combination of very different things happening here. I think the labour market, as we all know, we've got a full labour market. There isn't a pool of talent out there that is looking for jobs, so to speak. A lot of staff that worked in the travel industry, hospitality, again, we've seen it elsewhere, have simply left the industry, have found different jobs. The uncertainty that was in the industry that had been shut down for so long. And let's not forget, restrictions only eased on the 18th of March, so we're a bare 12 weeks away from that. And the pool of staff aren't there. So, but
well, is that partly because of Brexit? Is it, people are unwilling to answer this question because obviously, I know it's become a bit sort of politically divisive. Yeah. But is there a factor there that the EU, the pool of EU staff that airlines had come to rely on, rightly or wrongly, is not there?
I think the reality is when you take a major part of the workforce out, you are going to have issues. I speak to a lot of hotels in London, and they are struggling for staff. A lot of their staff that were from the EU have left London, have left the UK. So inevitably, it has created an issue, and it has created a void of talent that we used to have. So that will absolutely be playing a part in it.
Well done for answering that question, because I asked ABTA earlier and they were not very keen to answer. But what do you make of this suggestion from the business minister earlier today, that staff could simply work longer hours? Is that possible, viable?
Well, yeah, I'm trying to think how to best answer that, really. to be fair, I think the reality is that's a bit of a cheap shot, and that's not, that's a really unfair comment. I think if you ask any member of any team in any part of the workforce, would they work longer hours? Some will, some won't. Why should they? So I think there are a combination of complex issues. We've got to work it through. There are challenges in every economic sector that we're trying to work through, particularly around staffing, flexibility. Baggage handlers can't work flexibly. If people are unwell, if you're in the office, you can work from home. Possibly, if you're unwell, you can work from home. But if you're, working at the airport, if you're a pilot, you clearly can't. So there are a combination of complex challenges that, as an overall ecosystem, and my members are at the end. They need the supply chain to really work in order to be able to service their customers, and that's inevitably what we're trying to do.
Let me read you a text that's just come in. Hilariously, two conflicting texts on the Brexit point we were just discussing, reflective of the divided state of the country, I guess. Paul from Cardiff says, Cathy, maybe the airport staff shortages in Ireland and Germany are also due to Brexit. Someone else says, stop pushing the anti-Brexit line re airports. Just Google Schiphol, obviously the airport in Amsterdam in the Netherlands. Is that a point that, European destinations are experiencing similar staffing problems, or have we got it worse?
No, it's not just us. It really is all. I was in Spain again a few weeks ago speaking to contacts there, and they're having the same issues. It really is not just isolated the UK. I think we all have slightly different nuances, but fundamentally there is a real global shortage of staff, particularly in the travel industry, and we've lost. Over the course of 2 years, across the entire industry, we've lost around 200,000 staff who have not been replaced in its entirety, and have found jobs elsewhere.
So, but are we worse affected, as far as you can tell, than other European destinations?
I don't think so. Again, I can only go with the experience I've had with speaking to colleagues, and we have a global network, so I speak to a lot of colleagues right across the globe, actually, not just in Europe. And there are different challenges, very similar challenges. I think Brexit has created a movement of people across Europe, and in different parts of different countries are feeling different pressures.
Julia Lo Bue-Said, Chief Executive of Advantage Travel Partnership, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.